What's going on beyond the break here? And I'm trying something a little bit different. I've been grading cards for roughly a year and a half now, and I've been tracking almost everything that I've done from a grading standpoint. So, to sum things up here, I kind of want to walk through what I've learned, kind of where I'm at from a grading standpoint, and really just show that by the numbers, show the data that really just, concludes that grading is hard and making money in this is even more challenging than expected, and kind of go through my learnings and my strategy shifts after all these learnings that I've tracked over these last year and a half. Something that I might do here is do this on a quarterly basis. If it's liked enough, maybe I'll do this monthly. But for right now, I'm gonna give this a shot and see where this goes. As we enter into Q4, kind of want to think it's good timing as to kind of reset everything and see where we are. So you can see here from an initial standpoint, I just have the overall breakdown. I have my graded cards, my sold, and my inventory currently. The grading breakdown from what I've made, and then where I've graded cards as well. As we move along, we'll go into some more in-depth monthly, quarterly breakdowns by sports and kind of where we're at this year to date. So just to start here, you can see from a grading standpoint, I've graded over 688 cards for an average grading price of $18.53. From a raw standpoint, this is buying the card actually. I'm at $8.61. So right now I'm invested per card around a little over $27 for a total of $18,674 from a grading and average raw standard. With that being said, I've sold an average sale of $628,000 for a net of $9,900. Now that's if I were to sell every single card here, 688 cards. That's what I would net or average out to be estimated. From an actual sold standpoint, I've sold over 500 cards for a sold price of $21,579, which sounds great. But when you go into what you're averaging from an average, from a raw grading fee, eBay fee standard, it doesn't make out to be as quite as well as that number looks. So from that standpoint, average sold around $42, raw over $4,000, grading $9,243, and an eBay fee of a whopping $2,700 for a profit of a little over $5,500 over this last year and a half. Now, currently with my inventory, I still have 149 cards left from a grading standpoint. This is not including what I have left in raw, but this is only for grading. And then from an inventory standpoint, still expected profits around 8,400 currently left in my store, and then for a net of $3,900. So profiting 5,500, still have 3,900 left, so a decent amount left to sell. From a grading breakdown, no surprise here. PSA 10s gets you the big bucks. From a 10 standpoint, I've gemmed 365 cards for a profit of 6,600. But as you can see here, just from an overall grading standpoint, you have to gem to make money, right? We all know that. From a 9 standpoint, that PSA 9 is just not going to cut it for the most part. I've lost close to $1,000 on those PSA 9s, and as you go down the list here, anything above a 6, this isn't profit just for the fact that I've graded some older vintage cards that have some value on below a 9. My gem rate, so something that I definitely want to improve upon, is just over 52%. Definitely want to get close to that 55-60% range if I can. And then this is just a quick summary here. The grading companies I've graded mostly with PSA. I've had some SGC, which I probably won't do much going forward unless I can shoot for that 9.5. But again, not much value into that. Where I graded with PSA, you can see there it's just where the money's at currently. If we go down a little bit here, so I have a submission summary here. For the most part, you can see I'm barely making much. I've made mostly in the profit. Just for summaries here, this is per submission, number of cards per submission, the profits of sold, and the number of cards left I have in that submission. So even though some of these are in the green, I still have some cards that have some value here. So hopefully, these will only go up further. And also, I kind of want to evaluate the submissions evaluate by submissions in the sense that, if I still have some cards left in that submission and I've already made a profit, I might just need to cut my losses with some cards. And that's the grand scheme of this, is figuring out when to cut losses and when to hold. You can see here, there's some in the negatives, some I've completed. So like this submission here, I've only submitted 12 cards. It came out to be $202 overall I've made. So not much in the grand scheme of things. But again, it all stems from grading is hard, raw to grade's hard, and just in general, getting that gem rate up is only going to improve these numbers even further. All right, so as we move down, this is getting into more of the weeds of things. So starting up here from a quarterly breakdown, again, this is total from year since I started, and this is only going to get improve upon. But from a quarterly breakdown here, we can clearly see right now just finished up Q3. That's been a strong month, and honestly, 2025 has been a strong year already compared to 2024. So that doesn't surprise me when that number is as high as it is for right now. I only expect that this Q4 overall number is gonna improve upon and probably surpass Q3 pretty mightily by the end of it. And we can see here from a yearly breakdown, I'm almost about to surpass my 2024 profits. Now this is profit numbers, so these are numbers that are taking into the fees and everything, grading fees, eBay fees, and what I paid for raw and what it kind of comes out to be. So this isn't just revenue, this is all profit. From a sports breakdown, no surprise here for me. Baseball, basketball has kind of been my bread and butter. Football, I've always had a little bit of a challenge with, just for the sheer fact that I've always felt grading, wide receivers, corners, running backs, that's just not where the money's at. It's challenging. You really just need to grade quarterbacks. I've learned, unless the cards or the player is, Hall of Famer, or the card is special, whether it's like a low serial numbered card, or depending on the year, if it's a refractor from the 90s, stuff like that, which is a challenge as by itself. But with that being said, baseball, basketball has been kind of my bread and butter. We look at a monthly breakdown here. January doesn't surprise me being as low as it is, given the fact that it is the new year. People are kind of probably buying more raw, honestly, gearing up for certain sports. But as we get into the years, my numbers improve mightily here, especially within August. We just finished up August, September-ish. August is a really good time for football cards to be sold. Basketball, people are gearing up for basketball, baseball playoffs. So August seems to be a hot month overall. And then December, as we enter the holidays, people are probably buying with that, holiday money, or just for, gifts and whatnot. So it doesn't surprise me there with these 2 months being the highest that they are. Now, this is where things get interesting. When we look at quarterly, I had this broken down by quarter, sport, and then the profit and number of cards that I sold. So when we look at Q1 as a whole here, pretty low numbers overall. Again, January, February seems to be a really slower time in general. It's a good time to buy raw cards. It feels like, or at least be sending cards to get graded and hopefully back by Q3 or Q2, Q3. But when we get into more of the Q2, football actually is my highest for right now, Q2. It doesn't surprise me either, given the fact that baseball is probably already kicked off. So any baseball cards that you sold, you're probably sold by now by Q2, or you might be sending off to get graded. Basketball, obviously, it's near the tail end of the season there. Football, what my assumption is, it's around the draft in Q2. So people are gearing up, thinking about football. Mini camps happening in Q2. So there is that aspect of like football is still kind of on top of people's minds or gearing back up. Q3, this doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Baseball being as strong as it is, you can see they're $932. Again, baseball gearing up towards the playoffs. People are you are more mid-season. That July is right around the All-Star. You got August. You got playoff baseball. People are starting to think about that, and basketball too. It doesn't surprise me at all that basketball is gearing up. Surprisingly, end of Q3. I think training camp starts for basketball. So you can see there overall, $555. I sold 37 cards. And then football, I did sell 41 cards in Q3 so far. That's something that I definitely want to improve upon. It's something I'm going to get some learnings, is probably get some more football graded by now. So probably want to look to start buying more in that Q1, Q2 phase for football and getting them graded by Q3. so that I have it ready for training camp and preseason football and that first couple of weeks, given the fact that it seems that things move pretty quickly on the football end in Q3. And then moving into Q4. So again, no surprise here. Basketball has just kicked off. To be honest, I don't consider basketball season until definitely until after Thanksgiving, but more than likely after Christmas. But with that being said, basketball is my best performer in Q4. So right now, I actually have a bunch of basketball cards at PSA, and in hopes of returning by end of the year. Hopefully, with that timeline adds up, I'll get those cards back by November, December to start selling during that period, given the fact that you can see there Q4 is just a really big time for basketball. Baseball, football, on the other hand, only above 20 cards sold each quarter these last couple of years. So I'll always have some, especially on the baseball front. That's probably when I'm buying more raw baseball. And then football is obviously in the peak right there in Q4. That's just, again, something that I've just struggled with on the football end. So something that I definitely want to improve upon and try to have some more cards ready to go to be sold. All right, so let's get into my 2025 breakdown here. So far this year, like we talked about, January, slower month for me. Doesn't surprise me again. I don't think people are buying as much. Surprisingly, March was a down month for me. To be honest, I do think March, I just didn't have enough in inventory, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But from a March standpoint, inventory was definitely on the lower end, and it's kind of a dead season. I know there's baseball, people are gearing up for their spring training. I do think baseball buying starts picking up in April, given the nature of opening day. June, July, lower amount of cards sold in June and July. And then August seems to be a really big month. Football is in swing. Basketball, people start thinking about basketball, playoff baseball, like we talked about. So definitely think August is a time I want to make sure my inventory is at its peak for next year. And then September, low September. Again, I think that's more on my inventory levels, and that's something that I probably want to track going forward, is what my inventory looks like at each beginning of each month. Something I will include on this going forward. But with that being said, September, I just think I had a lot at PSA. I still have a lot of cards at PSA. I wasn't prepared enough to be selling a lot in September. Just want to track the eBay followers, just to see the impact or measure the impact of my buying for right now this year so far. You can see I've grown my followers on eBay from 72 to 93, which is a pretty good number. I definitely want to improve that number, and I don't know how just yet. That's something that I am learning to improve my eBay store and my eBay followers. I've tried some sales where I've done some auctions. I auction off a lot of cards at one given point to see if I can get some more followers to come back to the store. Definitely more of a retention factor on eBay, where it needs to be recurring customers, hopefully, with the attraction of new customers coming into play there. So when we break this down from a 2025 standpoint, this is where we get into the nitty-gritty of the numbers here. So from a raw this year so far, I've bought just under $2,000 of cards for an average of $8.79. From a grading fees, I've graded over $4,100 at an average grading fee of $18.42. And then from an eBay fees, I paid over $1,200 for an average of $55.55. From a sold standpoint, I've sold 223 cards for a revenue of $9,800. And that averages out to be $44 per card. And then from a profit standpoint, profit over $2,500 for an average margin base of $11.24. And then we can see here from my inventory what's left: 150 cards for $485 for an average estimated price or estimated revenue of $56 per card. So this is where I am focusing on right now, that $11.24. Personally, I've learned a lot through grading. I've graded a lot of cards, as you can tell, and something that I definitely want to improve upon, or at least from a raw standpoint, is where can I buy more or improve upon that margin per se. So right now I'm buying raw at $8.79. I think that number needs to go up drastically. I need to be averaging $25 a card, $30 a card, I think, in order to improve my margins. Because as you saw, that PSA 9s are just not cutting it for the most part. And I think that has solely to do with the fact that I'm buying some modern cards that are just not worth the grade. Where even in a 10, I'm barely breaking even, or my margins are just so low it doesn't really make much sense to go through it. So that's something that I'm definitely improving upon or looking to improve upon the rest of this year and into 2026. All right, so overall challenges here that I've faced in 2025: scaling plus inventory. So I want to improve my followers on eBay. I want to improve that number. I want to obviously improve my overall profit, but I need to keep up with inventory. I've learned that once I dip below 150 cards on my channel, on my storefront, it's challenging. It's hard to sell. I want to make sure I can consistently over 250 cards on my store at any given time, but I also want to make profits, right? So grand scheme of things here, that's something that's been a challenge I'm trying to balance here. I think everyone is in the same boat with that. I follow quite a few channels, and that seems to be the ongoing dilemma. Margins. So we talked about it. $11 margins right now I am making on my cards. Not ideal. Very thin margins in my view. So how do I improve that? I gotta buy more raw cards. I gotta buy more expensive raw cards. I need to push the envelope here a little bit. Obviously, I want to be a little bit safe and take into account my budget. But with that being said, I definitely need to push the envelope here and be a little bit more stricter with my grading and what I'm grading. Timing is everything. So as you can see, we had some low months, some higher months here and there, but making sure that we're grading cards and getting them back in the right manner at the right time per season, per sport, right? So the challenge obviously with PSA is you don't have that control. So you really need to plan things out. You really need to understand that, what sport's coming up, when should I be buying that raw card, when should I be grading that raw card, and when do I estimate to get back, all in one. And it definitely is a challenge by itself, especially when you just don't have that control with PSA. Right now I have 5 or 6 orders at PSA that I'm hoping that I get back by end of October, end of this month, or mid-November, so that I can still make up my my numbers for Q4. So what am I looking at from a strategy perspective? So in the grand scheme of things, rookie cards and prospecting, I definitely want to get a little bit more into that. I've dove into on the MLB side with the Bowman Chrome stuff. That's something that I just enjoy. In hindsight, I really enjoy prospecting. I love tracking on minor league prospects, tracking overall, team performances, stuff like that, and just rookie cards in general. Especially on the football and basketball side, rookie cards is where it's at. Now, I'm not going to go out there and buy, a $200, $300 on a prospect that has no hope, or not even hope, but just had one good year in the NBA or one good year in the NFL. I want to make sure that rookie is someone that has solidified themselves in the league. And then on the MLB front, I don't want to be buying some guy that just had a breakout couple of months this year. On the prospecting side, I want to make sure that they have valuable time to be in the minors and get their stock up in the minors with the hopes of debuting either next year or the year after, given the age and given where they're at in their careers. There's some guys that came up this year in the MLB that had some really good years, and their cards are, I think overpriced now. You just never know with those guys because they might have just peaked from a pricing standpoint. So I definitely want to, from a prospecting standpoint, really get into players that again are in that AA, AAA, and are in that top 50, 100, but have a chance to prospect, that have a chance to debut next year or the year after. So I have some time to really hit that peak from a pricing standpoint. Numbered cards, serial numbered cards. This is something that I'm definitely focusing more on, and that's where I've talked about running that risk a little bit and buying those higher priced cards. I've graded a lot of cards, and I've graded a lot of cards that are out of 250, out of 199, and it's simply put, from a modern standpoint, and this is 2015, 2020 and above, it's just not worth it. Even if you get that 10. You're making your margins again. You're making $20, maybe $11, like we said, the average I have right now. That's just not worth it. Even if you get that 10, you're selling it for $40, $45. Here and there, I'm not opposed to throwing some cards in there that are out of that just to reach that bulk number. But overall, I definitely want to shoot for more cards that are under 50 from a serial number that are numbered out under 50. That being said, I'm still going to do my pre-2010s refractors and parallels, especially the 90s refractors, early 2000s refractors. I'm always going to grade those. There is more of a chance to make profit on a 9. You run that, it's not as risky in my mind to get a 9 on some of these. So definitely want to take that into consideration. But overall, just understand that, from a margin standpoint, from a raw standpoint, is it worth it at the end? And that's kind of what I need to start thinking when I'm buying these cards in bulk. Overall, though, I'm not doing this to make a lot of money. I'm doing this as I find it more of a challenge, and I find it more of just a hobby of mine. I really enjoy buying raw cards. I think sports cards as a whole is just a really unique hobby, and I really enjoy grading. Honestly, I just love getting those cards back and seeing what grades I got. Even if it is disappointing, it's more of a challenge, and it's how can I improve upon it. So that's the big thing here. Just enjoying this and having a good time. But if you like this, and you watch this whole video, you made it this far, thank you. If you like this, again, please leave some comments and let me know what you like, what you didn't like. I definitely want to try again, see where this goes, and see what we can do with it. Definitely, right now, I'm looking at doing this on a quarterly basis to see where I'm improving upon. But again, if you like anything, please like and subscribe, and always leave comments in the comment sections. Love interacting with you guys in the comment section. Peace.